Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is CJ and I post makeup videos here on YouTube, which is what you are so kindly watching right now. So today I'm going to be doing a kind of just like a compilation of a bunch of things that I do while doing my makeup to make my face look a little bit less round. If you've never seen any of my videos, first, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. That's really cool of you. Okay, yeah. But anyway, in most of my videos, you'll see me like give off-handed tips or whatever about like something that I'm doing to make my face look less round, a little bit thinner, whatever. And I figured I can make one video, just kind of like a one-stop shop on all the tips that I do to decrease the roundness of my face. First of all, disclaimer, this is not me saying that round faces aren't beautiful. They absolutely are. I love my face like 90% of the time, like any other person in the world, you know what I mean? Or not any other person, but people love certain things about their face, but then they also want to tweak a few little things here and there. And me, I do like my round face. I think it'll keep me young for a very long time, but sometimes I want to make, or no, not sometimes, all the time, I want to make it look a little bit thinner. Like it's not swollen from pasta and wine and Cheez-Its. Okay, so this is not me saying that, round faces aren't beautiful, that there's no, that they like if you have a round face, you need to fix it. It's not at all like that. This is just me talking for my face shape and what I like on my face. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I know it's like disclaimer city, but I don't want to offend anyone. This is just me doing tricks that I like for my face. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I already have primer and foundation on because really that's just like the slapping on the basics. So I already did do that, and I also already did my eyes. If they look a little crazy, I'm trying out that little TikTok viral Batwing eyeliner thing for hooded eyes. It's very difficult for me and I'm very frustrated, but I think it looks decent. So I did already do my eyes, but I haven't done under eye concealer. I did concealer right here because I have like a massive zit going on, but other than that, I haven't done anything. I'm gonna do like a little still shot right here so that like at the end of the video, once everything's applied, you can like compare and contrast, just to see if the tips work. So yeah, okay, cool. All right, so the first kind of thing that I like to do is obviously concealer. Usually once you do your foundation, that's the first thing you want to do. So this has become kind of the norm recently because of Robert Welsh. I'm sure because of other people too, but I think namely him. So if you were on YouTube or you watched YouTube like years ago, the big old triangle, the concealer triangle was just all the rage. Remember, it was like all the way down here, usually with Tarte Shape Tape, but now that's really not what we do. And that's great for people with cheeks that they kind of want to decrease the size of, because when you do concealer all the way down here, it is like concealer, especially if it's a bright one, brings things forward. And so because my cheeks are already pretty forward because I have a round face and big cheeks, I don't want to bring them any more forward. So what I do now with my concealer is I just kind of tap it like right where the darkness is, but I don't bring it down any more than I need to. I just kind of put it like that and then just stop. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my sponge and just blend that out, making sure just to like basically just pat it in this one little spot and not bring it any more down than I need to. And usually when I do my concealer, I also put some like on that, but since I already did my eyes, I already did that, so. Oh, also, just a disclaimer, if you're at all curious what was on, like what products I used before I came on camera, I will link everything in the description box down below. All right, so putting product just right there instead of bringing that brightness all the way down really keeps it from like accentuating my cheeks. So while I have my concealer out, I'm just going to finish up the rest of my concealer. I don't really put it anywhere else to like decrease the roundness of my face. So let me finish that real quick and then we'll continue. Also, I did want to mention, I know a lot of people do use concealer tricks to like make their faces look a little bit slimmer. I honestly cannot do that right now because the concealer that I am using is basically my skin tone, because I just don't have the money to go out and buy a new concealer right now. So it's like my summer shade. So I can't really like do the whole brightening thing with my concealer. It's really just like correcting things. So I am mostly gonna be using like powder and contours and stuff in this video. All right, so I'm not gonna be using any cream products. I do have some cream products that I really, really do like. I love the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzing Stick. I have one by Ofra that I really, really like, but I'm going to be just sticking strictly to powder today. So before I go into any of like the shaping products, I am just going to lightly powder my entire face just so that they go on a little bit smoother and don't kind of skip everywhere. All right, so now that we've powdered, what I like to go in with and do initially is my contour, not my bronzer, my contour. So my absolute favorite contour shade is this one by Misha. You can get it off of yesstyle.com, which is an Asian beauty website. Hub's great. It's got really like hidden gems there. So I love this because it is light enough to, and cool tones enough for me to be an actual contour shade. So again, if you don't know, when you're contouring, it's to mimic a bone shadow. It is not to bronze your face. Bronzing is how, like, you know, if the sun's in your face, that light is going to hit the high points of your face and also cast a little bit of a shadow on the not high points of your face. This is a contour. This is like actively making it look like, you see how, ignore this, but you see how like I have a little bit of a shadow right there where my cheekbone is, kind of, I guess. But that, I want to do that, but I want to make it a little bit more pronounced so that it looks like I have a little bit more of a bone structure than just like cheek fat, or not cheek fat, but you know what I mean? Like I want my bone structure to look a little bit higher, more lifted, a little bit more sculpted. So I'm going to go in with this, and I've been loving this Luxie flat contour brush. So I've been going in pretty heavy handed because why not? It's fun. So I kind of go in, I tap it on here, and then I go a little bit above my cheekbone. So if you can go right on your cheekbone, especially if you naturally have high cheekbones, I do not, but what you do not want to do is go underneath that line, because that's going to make your face look sunken down and just saggy and not what a lot of people are wanting to do with their makeup. So because my cheekbones are not high, I like to use my natural line as like the bottom of my contour line. So I'll go in and I'll just kind of stamp it, primarily focusing the brunt of the contour at the back up part. You see, I mean, obviously you can see it because that's where, you know, it would be the most prominent. And then you can lightly bring it down. I like to do a little bit heavy-handed just because, again, it's fun for me. And again, I've been enjoying Cheez-Its a little too much. Okay, so I have that on, right? So now, just because I like to have one product out at a time, get it all done, and then move on to the next product, next step. I also like to contour the absolute shit out of my jawline. So I'm not going to use this exact brush, because it is a little too dense and it is difficult to like see all up in here, and I would hate for me to like put too much product under there and then people see it and it look like a makeup mask. That is so not what I want out of my life, you know? So I'm going to go into this little Persona Cosmetics dual-ended brush. This is actually really good for nose contour, which I'll do next, but this one is really good. It's the blush side, but I like it for contour. So I'm just going to tap it into that, and I'm just going to go alongside of my jaw, and I kind of like to sweep it a little bit onto my face, not really a lot, like at all, just like a tiny, teeny little bit, just to give it a little bit more shadow. And so doing this will, you know, kind of bring this back and a little bit further. You know, when you put contour on, it brings that structure backward. And so that's good because my third and fourth chins extend a little more forward than I would like them to. And then just, you know, after you do like the initial placement of that contour shade, I like to just drag it down my neck just to, you know, blend it out as much as humanly possible, because you really don't want any like stark lines. Okay, so now if you have a bigger forehead, this is when you would do like, you know, contouring the temples, all that, just to kind of flush everything together. I have a pretty tiny forehead, so I don't do that. I just bronze my temples and connect it to that, not with contour. So if you have like, just, you know, if you want to make your forehead look smaller for any certain reason, that's when you would do like contour in your forehead. So, but what I do always do is contour my nose. If you're new here, I always contour my nose. So I'm going to go into this little highlight side of this Persona brush, and I'm going to contour my nose. This isn't part of, like, if you want a nose contour video, just let me know and I'll film that separately. All right, so now what I do is I'm going to go into my L'Oreal Paris True Match Lumi Bronze It bronzer. This stuff is really, really good. I have the shade 01 Light. It's a really good bronzer shade. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but nothing too crazy. It's just a really good, it's not super warm toned, but I mean, it does have more of a bronzer shade to it, but it also does have a little bit of coolness to it, so it does kind of add to that contour just a little bit. So I'm going to go in with that and just take this little powder brush, this thicker one that I really need to wash, just ignore it. And so I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to use this to blend that contour. I'm going to take these earrings out. I am so annoyed by these things. I don't know how other people wear hoops when they do their makeup. I just cannot do it. So I am going to dust off the excess, because you can always build product on, but you can't really, it's really hard to take it away. And I don't want to go in too heavy-handed, so I'm just going to take the side of this brush and kind of go in and just use that bronzer to diffuse the contour. And you can be, obviously, you can be a little bit more sloppy with your bronzer. Still don't bring it below, you know, you don't want to focus it at all below that one line. You kind of still want to keep it. And then, as I said, I do bring it onto my temples and bronze that as well. And then I also like to connect it right here, because I feel like if I don't connect it, it looks like that little sunglass burn, you know, like if you get a sunburn and you're wearing sunglasses and you got that really awkward like middle-aged man line. All right, so the next thing I do, if you have more of a, and I'm getting a lot into face shapes, and it's a lot. I don't know what my face shape is, but I do know my jaw is pretty wide, like especially at the bottom. I like my chin, but especially because I do have like a little bit of, you know, extra, you know, just calories right there. I don't know if that scientifically, I don't know if that is, please don't hate me if it was just a joke. But anyway, I do kind of like to bring this, like, I like to make my jaw look thinner and not as wide, if that makes sense. So I know a lot of YouTubers, like once they do their contour and stuff, they'll like full ass bake like with a white powder under here to like really cut that out. I used to do it. It does not work for my face. What I have found, because of Alexandra Anil, I mention her in like almost every freaking video, but what she said, if you have a jaw that you kind of want to, you know, kind of shave the width off of, is to bronze like right here. Okay, so not obviously not all the way down, like you don't want to go all the way in, but especially focusing like right, like I'd say from like the outer third of your face downward, and kind of that kind of will help, because it's going to pull that back and make this look a little bit more lifted, if that makes sense. So I've been doing that, and I think it makes a really big difference. So what I mean is I'll just kind of start like right there, and I don't put a lot on my brush because you don't want it to be stark or anything, but you do just kind of want to have a little bit of an added shadow right there. And then also just like whatever I have left, I'll blend in that way, just to, you know, flush everything together. But I will say, I do think it makes a pretty big difference. Like you see, this looks a little bit thinner than that side does. Okay, so that's how I do my bronzer and contour. Do you see that difference like already? It's nothing crazy. It's nothing too intense. It doesn't make me look super made up. I think it looks incredibly natural, but you can tell, you know, you can see more shadow and shape to my face now. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I always just kind of like, not bake, but I always kind of tap some brighter powders along the side of my nose just to make it look smaller. So just give me a second. Okay, so next I'm going to go into blush. I'm going to be using the Milani Luminoso blush. So again, I think recently this is kind of like the new normal on how to do blush. I think the way that I'll be referencing like the other way I used to do it's more of like an old school YouTube thing. And that's like putting it on the apples of your cheeks. Putting blush like on the apples of your cheeks, the biggest part, is going to draw more attention to the bigger part of your cheek. So it's going to make it look like your cheek really is like right here. Okay. I like my cheeks, but they are pretty big, right? So what I want to do is kind of bring them a little bit back so they're more lifted, so they're not quite as in front and in charge. So instead of me putting them on putting blush on the apples of my cheeks, I kind of start like from the outer like portion of my eye upward. You know, I go like I'll go pretty far back with it, like not too far, but you'll see. So you don't really want to do this thing like I know they taught you to do, because you don't walk around with your face like that unless you're just like really judgmental. So I just keep my face relaxed, and I just kind of start it right here and then brush it on backward. So as you can see, that makes my cheeks look a little bit higher and more to the side than just like stark round circles in my face front. Why do people watch my videos? That's the question. Okay, so now I'm going to go with my highlighter. Same thing as the blush. You know, you don't want to bring it too far down because then you're going to be highlighting like the roundness. And, you know, with highlighter, you kind of go on like the tips of, you know, your cheeks or whatever. And so me putting it on the tips of my cheeks will just enhance how round and lifted and out they are. So I don't bring mine in very far. I pretty much go to the same place that I did my blush, like middle to end portion of my eye, and then just bring it back. I also like to just kind of flush it around right here and then like under my brows, because I just like how that looks. I think it looks super, super natural. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to use this. This is another Luxie brush. This is the tapered highlighter brush. I'm going to be using my Mary Luminizer. So I kind of initially put it like right here. So like right at the corner of my eye. I would focus it there. And then I'll kind of tap in a little bit more and bring it underneath my brow and kind of just around. That I like because, you know, a lot of people, they like highlight above their brow right here to make their eyebrows look lifted. That's a little too stark just for my taste. So I feel like just diffusing it through the brow before actually doing my brows, because we will be shaping our brows. I think that makes it look a lot more diffused and more natural, but still also kind of lifted. Okay, so the last thing I'm really going to focus on is the eyebrows. I think eyebrows are, one, obviously very important for shaping your face. Brows bring an angularity, a symmetry to your face. They give it a shape, a chisel, and I think brows are very, very important. But anyway, I'm going to use my CoverGirl Ultrafine Brow Pencil in soft brown. I'm just going to brush my brows up. And I don't like my brows to be too thick, but then, I mean, if you do your brows on an everyday basis, you know, they look different every single day, just depending on how your wrist or fingers decided to hold your brush or your pencil. When you do your brows, you kind of want to start on the bottom, because the bottoms are supposed to look a little bit more defined than the top. So I kind of start like right here, because like if you go any closer in, then you don't want that to be super blocked off. You know what I mean? So I kind of like to just do this little line and then kind of fill in the tail. And then as I fill in that tail, bring it up to the arch. And especially for round faces, I do think it's kind of important to not go super crazy on your arch, but I do think it's really good to define it and bring it out, because again, it does bring a sharp line and an angle to your face that, like, when you have a round face, you don't really have many angles and lines. You just have flesh. You know, this sounds so weird. Oh my God. And then just, you know, as I fill that in, I go in closer towards the top and then stop once I reach kind of like this part. Because again, I don't like the whole like blocky Instagram brow. I like the front like parts of my brow to look very natural. And then you brush them out just to get rid of any super duper harsh lines. Okay, and then now that I have that done, I will kind of like lightly go to the front of the brow and just, I mean, I'm barely touching my skin, but I will just kind of flush some color in there just to make them look a little bit more filled, but nothing too crazy. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the same thing to this brow. And then just to keep those brows in place, I'm gonna put in my little e.l.f. Wow brow. All right, so with the brows on, hopefully you can see just the difference, how it does like just kind of give more of a shape and an angle to the face. I think it does. I think brows make such a huge difference. It's why I never not do anything to my brows. Never, ever. Okay, so the next thing that it might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, especially because I know right now the whole like bare lower lash line thing, it's kind of in. I always like to have a little something on my lower lash line as well as lower lash line mascara, just because, you know, this space right here is so large. Right now, all of this space from lower lash line here is cheek. That's it. That's all it is. So I feel like adding a little bit of a lower lash line, even if it's just barely a shadow and then some mascara, it adds more eye to that area because it brings the eye down a little bit, you know, obviously because you're adding a little bit more emphasis there. And so it will decrease the obviousness of that cheek. Does that make sense? I'm really hoping that like I'm explaining things well, but also in like normal people terms, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go into my BoxyCharm Hello Charmer palette. All I did on my upper lid was just kind of do a very light dusting of this Cup of Joe shade, like in the crease. So that's all I'm going to do on the bottom. I'm going to use this little Luxie mini angled brush. I like to bring my lower lash shade a little bit further down just to give the appearance of a bigger eye. You don't have to do it as low as I do it. Oh, also, if you want to see a video, I followed a snitchery tutorial on how to make eyes look bigger, and I think it went really, really well. You should totally check it out. I'll put it in the cards. Like, I think it's there. Okay, see, so that's all I did. You can barely even, oh, I probably should have zoomed y'all bitches then, huh? I'm sorry. Also, sorry if you don't like being called a bitch. That was rude of me to assume. Okay, so you can see that was just like the tiniest little bit of color. Barely anything, but still something, right? And then I'm going to go into my Essence Lash Princess Mascara. I'm going to wipe the like vast majority of the product off on the cap, but I am going to kind of just lightly coat my lower lashes just because I do think it makes the eyes look bigger, and thus when your eyes look bigger than, you know, the spot that is beneath it, which is your cheeks, you know, because of life, it's going to make them look smaller, maybe, I think. And even if you don't agree in like all the geometry and shit that I'm trying to spew at you, the more emphasis you put on your eyes, the less emphasis people will see on your face, if that's what you want. So, does that make sense? All right, so now like all that we have left to do is the lip. Okay, so if you don't have any color on your lips, then they're kind of just gonna like fade into your face, right? So you wanna have like a little bit of a pigment there. So anyway, I'm gonna take just the lightest bit of this Almay 120 Go Wild lipstick. I love this. And I'm not even gonna like go full in. I'm just gonna kind of tap it around. And so I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to go in with this Kapari Lip Glossy in Birthday Suit. This stuff is absolutely incredible. I found this in my old purse and I was so excited. And then I'm going to put that on. And see, even just that lightest, like even that super light flush of color, or even like the gloss, the change in texture from the face to the mouth, it does just kind of break up the face, you know, because it just gives it gives you something else to look at than just your cheeks or, you know, your jawline if you don't want people to look at that. So let me zoom me back out. Okay, major apologies if the angle just like completely changed, but my thing just fell, so that wasn't great. But anyway, so this is the finished look. I hope this video made sense. This isn't like, I am not a professional makeup artist. I've never worked at MAC or Sephora or whatever. So, you know, face shapes and all this other fancy stuff that people know, I don't know any of that. I just know what works for me and tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. Again, I am always learning. I love watching makeup videos. I love playing with my face shape just to see how I can make it look a little bit different. This is just like a compilation of things that I've been using for years that I do think make a very huge difference in how my face looks, making it look a little less round, a little thinner, if that's what I want on that day. Again, please don't take offense. I am not saying, I think round faces are absolutely beautiful. Chrissy Teigen she's like the, you know, like when you read like the Allure articles to like see what kind of face shape you have, she's always like one of the first ones for round faces, and I think she's one of like the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life. So I'm not saying anything bad about round faces. I'm just saying if you do want your face to look a little less round or a little bit slimmer, just for why, I don't know why, if that's what you want, go on with your bad self. If that's not what you want, go on with your bad self. But this is what I do when I want my face to look a little less round, a little bit slimmer. So that is all for this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope I was able to explain things in a way that people can kind of understand, you know, more so of it just being like overly technical and all this stuff. I just want it to be like a fun little, you know, whatever. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. I hope you're having a really cool time just doing whatever you're doing. Please give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you want to. That'd be dope. Also, if you want to leave a comment, that'd be super cool too. So Anyway, I hope you can tell the difference. I hope this helped. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!